Hello, and thank you for joining me. Today we are taking a look at two popular Thai beef dishes that you will often see at Thai restaurants: Crying Tiger Steak and Nam Tok. The Crying Tiger Steak I will be making a little less traditionally, but the Nam Tok I will try to keep unadulterated. I don't eat beef all that often, but when I do, these two preparations are some of my favorite ways to have it. Just a bit of backstory before we begin. I love Thai food, and I used to work in Thai restaurants before I pursued cooking as my primary profession. I traveled to Thailand for the first time about a year ago, and I fell in love with the food all over again, and so I've been on a kick lately. That being said, I'm no expert. Like most cuisines of the world, you can spend years learning about them and still have room to grow. So forgive me if I make any mistakes when presenting the information, for I am definitely still learning, and it can be hard to get perfectly clear answers online or through cookbooks. So be sure to alert me in the comments if you can clarify anything. Now, let's get into it. Let's start with the beef. Like I said, I don't eat it that often, but I saw these hanger steaks on sale at the grocery store and couldn't resist because it's one of my favorite cuts. I have not eaten at every Thai restaurant on earth, but more typically for these dishes you will see flank or skirt steak, but feel free to mix it up with your favorite cut like I'm doing. So let's prep this beef. Hanger steak is an interesting cut. There's only one for every cow, and it's actually two steaks held together by this connective tissue in the middle. You can definitely surgically separate these two steaks with your knife, but I actually learned this funny technique at a restaurant I used to work at, where we went through a lot of hanger steak, aka lambatello, aka anglais. There are two ends of the steak, and one kind of splits into two. That is where you start to make a cut. Using your knife, you just make a small incision to start the process, and then using your hands actually, you can usually pull the two steaks apart from one another, and you end up with the tendon completely exposed. You might lose a little bit of meat that doesn't pull off, but even when using a knife for the whole process, you end up with some beef that is left on the tendon. So I actually prefer this way. And once they are separated, I just lay them flat to make sure it is easy to get at that tendon. And then I trim off any last bits of fat or sinew. And then our two steaks are ready to go. And we can start by marinating these steaks. This marinade is so simple and great, even if you just wanted to grill a steak outside of a Thai context. So we have here a bit of soy sauce, a splash of fish sauce, a small clove of garlic that has been pulverized, a pinch of sugar, and some ground white pepper, and about a tablespoon of oyster sauce. Now, to make sure that this marinade begins to work its way into the beef, I use my clean hands and give them a bit of a massage, and after cleaning my hands, I cover them up and set them in the fridge. They should sit for 30 minutes, but the flavor will go even deeper if you let them go overnight. And with our steaks marinating, let's move on to preparing the ingredients for our Nam Tok salad. And let's start with the toasted rice powder. You will need some glutinous Thai rice, which you will sometimes see labeled as sweet rice, but that has more to do with the starch levels and not an actual sweet taste. This is also the rice you will see used for mango with sticky rice or simply served as part of a larger Thai meal, especially in the north. We just need to toast and crush a small amount of this rice, and I usually make a little more than I need. This is about a quarter cup going into the pan here, and I just set that pan to medium heat, and I keep an eye on it, shaking the pan occasionally, and for the first couple of minutes it might seem like nothing is happening, but eventually you will start to see some smoke rising from the pan, and that's a good sign. As the smoke increases, you just shake the pan a bit more frequently, and we just keep doing that until we get a nice golden brown color over most of the rice. A little bit of white here and there is totally fine. Now I pop that rice into my mortar and pestle and grind it up into a coarse mix, which I will show you in a moment. So, like this. If you don't have a mortar and pestle, you can use one of those small coffee or spice grinders, And if you get really desperate, you could put the rice on a cutting board and use a heavy bottom pan to break it up. I know some of you out there might be tempted to skip this step, but trust me, you will be missing out if you do. The toasted rice powder not only brings a wonderful fragrance to the dish, but also a nice bit of texture. If you can't find Thai glutinous rice where you live, you can substitute with jasmine rice, but I would avoid sushi rice, basmati, or any par-cooked rice. And now moving on to our herbs and veggies for the Nam Tok, I have a plate here with everything that we will use. I have cilantro, green onion or scallion, mint, red onion, and a little bit of red Thai chili. You can easily imagine just from looking at this place how nice and fresh this salad is going to be. Back on the cutting board, I'm just chopping up that cilantro. The leaves get chopped pretty rough, but once I get to the stem, I mince them more finely. For the scallions, I like to cut them on a bias so that they end up in nice long pieces that don't get lost in the mix. The mint, I will just pluck the leaves from the stem and that's it. The red onion, I just cut the ends off, split it in half, and then peel off that outer layer. And then I slice it thinly. And because red onion can be pretty potent, I will often soak those slices in cold water for a few minutes and then spin them dry, which is what I did today. Back to the cutting board, I just have the Thai chili left and I will just mince that up. Make sure you wash your hands well afterwards, or it's easy to touch your eye without thinking about it and end up in a bit of pain. So I just get that chopped chili into this cute little rooster cup that I bought in Chiang Mai. And now all our herbs and vegetables are ready for our Nam Tok. Again, look how fresh and beautiful it all looks on a plate. Now we just have to make our dressing for the Nam Tok, which is very simple and similar in most Larb salads you will make. The ratio tends to be about 1 part fish sauce to 1 part lime juice. So in this case, I'm doing about a 1/4 cup of each here, which will be a little more than I need. And don't make fun of me for making such a mess with the lime juice. Sometimes I just go for it without thinking of a better way to get there. I will also usually add just a small pinch of sugar to the lime juice, and this is optional, but like with most cooking, you really have to taste as you go and adjust according to your own palate. Limes will vary in taste and freshness, so sometimes you might like the pinch of sugar, sometimes you can skip it. Sometimes a 1-to-1 ratio will be perfect, sometimes you might need a little bit more juice than fish sauce. Speaking of adjustments, I will also usually add the zest of a lime to the dressing to punch up the freshness factor. But that is all there is to it for the dressing. And for the crying tiger steak, at the first place I worked at, we would serve it with a house hot sauce on the side, and this sauce was a bit non-traditional, but tasted really good all the same. The ratio was around 2 parts of fish sauce to 1 part of bottled lemon juice, again not traditional but very tasty, a couple pinches of sugar, and then as much chopped Thai chili as you feel comfortable with. You could definitely use fresh lime juice instead, and more traditional would be to make some Nam Jim Jeow, but I felt that it deserved its own video given that it has applications outside of Thai steak. But there you have it for this simple hot sauce. And now we are basically ready to go for both dishes. I have a little bit of veggies to cut for our crying tiger steak, but I will do that just before plating. For now, let's grill these steaks. I take our marinated beef out of the fridge and head out back in the garden of my apartment complex where I have some coals ready to go. I think I might be the only person in Denmark who believes that it's okay to grill, even in the winter. I've never seen anyone else do it anyway. I get those coals into the grill, set the grate in place, and I get those steaks cooking. Now, this is not a steak cooking instructional video, so I trust you to grill these to your liking using either the poke test, cake tester, or thermometer, but I usually shoot for medium rare to medium. These are looking pretty nice. As with any steak preparation, we want to let those rest after the cooking so the protein can relax. And while those steaks are resting, I just want to finish the garnish for the crying tiger steak. and I'm trying to recreate this just like the way we did it at the first place I worked at. It's a little westernized, but Thai restaurants in the suburbs sometimes have to adjust for their clientele. So I have here some nice crisp iceberg lettuce, and I just shred that thinly with my knife. I also have a cucumber, which I will peel in a decorative way using this ridged peeler, and then I slice that up on the bias for attractive pieces, and then I just need a few tomato slices. I set that up on the side of the plate, and then we are ready to slice our steak and finish both dishes. For the Crying Tiger steak, I'm literally just slicing it and putting it on the plate. Golden rule with slicing steak is that you want to cut across the grain of the meat so that the fibers are less chewy. Usually it's pretty easy to see how the grain runs by looking at the steak, but for hanger steak it does change slightly at one end, so just take it slow and keep an eye out for the line so you get the best texture possible. And with that first steak sliced, I just pop that onto the plate with the lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumbers, and that is more or less it. And as mentioned, we would also serve that with the house hot sauce on the side, which I have some of that here. But that is it for recreating the Crying Tiger steak from my first job from memory. Not the most traditional, but super tasty if you want a simple steak dish. And now, moving on to finishing the Nam Tok. Same rules apply when slicing this steak, though this time I'm going even thinner so I maximize the amount of pieces I get. With that all sliced, it goes into a mixing bowl, followed by all those great green herbs and veggies. I actually had a little more than I needed, so I held back a little bit. I also did not add the Thai chili all in one go. And then I give it about a tablespoon of our toasted rice powder. Then I start to spoon in the dressing, starting with about a couple tablespoons maybe. And I'm mixing gently so that we don't crush those delicate herbs more than we need to. And with larb salads, I usually add enough dressing until you start to see just a little bit of it pooling at the bottom of the mixing bowl. But everyone is different, so of course taste as you go and see how you like it. You can also adjust the spice at this point, but you can also serve some chilies on the side if your guests have varied spice tolerances. And now that I have that larb salad tasting right, I gently get it out of the bowl and onto a serving plate. I think being a little delicate really helps give this salad some volume, which is nice. But there you have it. It just looks so fresh and inviting. Now the only thing left to do is enjoy. Thai food is most often served family style, but today I'm the only one at the table, so it's really quite the feast for me. You will also often see these Thai salads served with some lettuce or even a wedge of cabbage. It's great to make these little lettuce bites and adds even more greenery to this already fresh way of eating. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this look at two popular Thai beef dishes and that you give them a try. I know the sauce I made for the Crying Tiger steak was a far cry from tradition, but I will make a video specifically for the Nam Jim Jeow dipping sauce because, like I said, I think it has a lot of applications beyond just grilled steak. And if you like the look of this Nam Tok salad, then there is a whole world of larb salads out there with different proteins just waiting for you to explore. And maybe we can explore some of them together. If you liked this video, they make a whole button just for you to show it. And a subscription is a free and easy way to help me out, keep tapped into my content. And of course, drop a line in the comments if you have any questions or want to inform me about something I might have gotten wrong with the information. I value all feedback. And until next time, cheers.